Hey everyone, welcome to LolKing's League Tips. My name is Shakarez, and each week we'll be giving you a tip that you can use in your games to have an edge over your opponent. Today, we're going to look at some more advanced wave manipulation techniques. If you didn't watch the previous video on the basics of wave manipulation, I would advise you to do so, as you need to know the essentials first before we move on to more complex tactics. So click on the annotation on the screen. Also, as a side note before we begin, winners of our RP card giveaway last week were drawn, so check your email to see if you won. Anyways, last time we looked at even and uneven minion waves, freezing, unfreezing, and resetting waves. Today we look at some examples where you can use these to your advantage. Let's start with freezing. First off, you need to be able to identify situations when you can freeze. Usually a bigger wave will start pushing towards you, or your lane opponent will be pushing faster for this to happen. Let's look at the following clip with Ashe. She notices the Ezreal pushing the wave much faster, meaning he'll have more allied minions than she will. This means it will slowly start pushing towards the blue team. When the next wave arrives, the previous red wave still has 5 minions alive, meaning Ashe can freeze this wave by simply last-hitting creeps right in front of her tower. Keeping a freeze might seem hard, but it isn't. All you have to do is to keep 4 enemy minions alive to make sure the wave keeps pushing towards you, but not hard enough to the point where it pushes too fast and hits your turret. Ashe manages to do this for several waves, opening a big CS differential and even an XP advantage over her lane opponent. Now, if you're the enemy, you're in a very tough spot. Ideally, you want to break this freeze, but Ezreal and Bard can't really get any close because they know they may lose a 2v2 trade. Not only that, but trying to get closer to push opens them up for a gank, as they'll be out of position. So their only solution is to call the jungler for help. He doesn't even need to gank, just his presence will force Ashe and Janna to back off and yield pressure from the wave, thus letting Ezreal unfreeze it and reset it closer to the middle of the lane. Let's go on to another example, this time in the top lane. So this situation happens after a fight where Gnar was forced to back. Irelia pushes in the wave and Gnar teleports to grab those minions, crashing into his turret. Right here, Irelia does not teleport back to lane, even though she has it available. Why? Because she's wasting a summoner spell for 1 or 2 minions. Since the wave was fully pushed to the enemy tower, minions die much faster and won't be able to kill off the blue minions. So instead, Irelia walks back to top lane and conserves her teleport. This gives her the advantage for a teleport gank down to bot lane, or to use it if she ever dies in lane and actually needs to get back fast to avoid losing golden experience. Now, this wave has 5 more minions than the one it is meeting, so it will start pushing towards Irelia, and ideally she wants to freeze it. However, she can't really kill minions in the middle of the lane, as Mini-Gnar will harass her to death. She lets the minion wave hit the turret and starts to thin it, and potentially look for a freeze. The problem is that Gnar is a ranged character in mini form, meaning he can keep pushing and consistently break Irelia's freeze without getting into too much trouble. This goes for most ranged champions that can break freezes without getting punished as much as melee champions do. Now, let's pause right here and check this wave. 3 minions survived from each wave, so it's an even wave. However, the minions are fighting on Irelia's side of the map, meaning backup will arrive faster, and this wave will push towards Gnar's tower. A smart player will let it push towards him and set up a potential gank opportunity. An average player will keep fighting and pushing it in, opening himself up to ganks. Now, as we fast forward a bit, we'll notice that Irelia is now in a very tough spot. She needs to kill these minions to make sure her wave finishes pushing and it resets. But the problem is that Mini-Gnar can simply poke her down from the distance. As Gnar turns to Mega, he trades with Irelia and wins. But had his jungler been around, they could have easily turned this into a successful gank, especially since there was no vision from Irelia in the river. My point with all of this is that you can easily set up situations where the wave pushes towards you. It takes a few seconds to set it up, meaning you can call your jungler in advance. If you can freeze it for a while like Ashe did in that clip, it becomes even easier. You either zone out the opponent or force him to commit, opening himself up for a gank. That's going to be all for this episode of our League Tips. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, and remember you can always leave a suggestion for the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week.